demons! I've seen them with my own eyes! Red Grave is completely taken over!
Let us pray for mercy. This is a trial from the heavens above.
Hey everybody, how's it going? Today we're taking a look on how to make the neon Devil May Cry sign seen on the back of Nico's van in the new game, Devil May Cry 5. When the trailer dropped this summer, I was blown away. Not only were we getting the new Devil May Cry game, but it was a sequel to the original Devil May Cry saga. I must have watched the trailer a dozen times before it finally sunk in that at last we were getting a new Devil May Cry game. And in honor of that, today I'm going to make the Devil May Cry neon sign. You can follow along and hopefully build it alongside me. So let's dive into how to make the neon sign for Devil May Cry 5.
Devil May Cry.
Let's rock!
Alright, first thing you'll need is the L wire. I bought mine off of Amazon for $7. I'll leave a link in the description below. I bought mine blue because I wanted to stay as true to the colors on the Nico's van. It comes in two different sizes. I got the 9-foot, but there's also a 15-foot. You're able to bend it very well, so don't be worried about that when you're applying it into the letter shape. Next up is the steel wire. I bought this for about $3 at Canadian Tire. You could probably get it at any hardware store for under $5. I got a particularly thick one, so if you're going to get something as thick as mine, make sure you have a pair of wire cutters. Some string, any kind of string really. You'll just need it to be the equivalent size of the L wire, in this case 9 feet. You'll be using this to measure the sign to make sure you have enough L wire for the overall design. An X-Acto blade, because we'll be cutting various things. Next are the twisties. The twisties, you don't really need to buy a whole pack like I did. You could probably just go to the grocery store and grab a few there. What we're really looking for in this is the inside. To use that little small wire. This will help hold the letters together when we're crafting the whole sign. If you're young or don't feel comfortable using an X-Acto knife, ask a parent or guardian to help you. Some tape for taping down the wire when we're molding the sign. And some electrical tape to hide the parts of the neon sign that aren't meant to be seen. You can either do this in black or white depending on the color wall you're choosing to put this on. A pair of pliers to help bend the steel wire when making loops in certain letters. Glue. In this case super glue I got from the dollar store. You'll need a lot of this. Luckily they come in packs of 4. I managed to go through about 3 of these, so make sure you stock up on it. A pencil or pen along with a Sharpie marker. An optional item are wooden sticks that are shaped accordingly in order to use this for the base of the sign to keep it from wobbling around once it's done. And a large piece of cardboard that you'll use to draw your sign on. An alternative to this is just printing out the picture in several pages. Just make sure that it's not too big. Alright, the first thing you're going to want to do is draw your first draft of the DMC sign using a pencil. Make sure that you make it as smooth as possible because later you'll be bending your steel wire to look the same as your drawing. The darker lines are done with a Sharpie or marker. These are meant to show the part of the neon light that will be glowing. I already drew my sign, so I'll just show you how mine came out. When I was drawing the letters, I kind of just eyeballed it using the screenshot I took of the sign in the first trailer. I'd say it came out pretty close. Once you've finished your drawing, go ahead and measure it with the string. Depending on if it's too big or small, you may have to adjust your drawing to make sure it uses up the entire length of the string. This might take a couple of tries. Every so often, mark down the length that you've used up. This will give you a good idea of how much more space you have left to work with. Once you've measured your sign to be the same length as your string, go ahead and cut a steel wire the same length. In this case, my L wire was actually 9.5 feet, so I had a little more room to work with.
When you have your wire ready, go ahead and line it up with your drawing. Once you're done bending it, tape it down to prevent it from moving around. This is definitely the longest part of the process, so let's go ahead and speed this up.
This is very thick wire, so it may give you a lot of trouble staying in position. This requires a lot of tape and a lot of patience. For those tight curves, go ahead and use the pliers to get the shape just right. If the wire keeps popping out of place, don't worry about it for now. Do your best to tape it down and just keep going on. We'll fix it later, but for now, just concentrate on shaping the wire as closely as you can to your drawing. Any part that sticks out will be taken care of later with the twisties. Don't be discouraged if this takes you a while to do. This might seem like I made it look easy, but to give you an idea of how long the process is, know that the footage has been sped up 1000%. In reality, it almost took me 2 hours to bend the entire thing. To give you an idea, I'll play out the rest of the clip.
After you finish taping the wire down into the shape of your drawing, go ahead and begin pulling the tape off. Once you start removing all the tape, you'll see that the steel wire, while still in formation, tends to pop up in a curve. This is normal, and now that you've finished shaping it, you can take the entire thing and begin to bend it little by little in the opposite direction, in order to even it out and make it more flat.
Alright, so some of the letters are still popping out. See how the C is way out of place? Even when I press down on it, it pops right back up. This is where the twisty ties will come in. Grab one along with your X-Acto knife. Carefully and slowly trim down the middle where the wire is visible. This will separate the thin layer of plastic, allowing you to pull out the wire with ease. Wrap the wire around the two intersecting points of the letter. Go around a couple times, just to secure it. It might be tough when it's in those tight little spots, but just keep at it. Once you're done, cut off the excess wire. And to make sure the wire doesn't end up poking your fingers, flatten it down with your pliers. You may find that you have to do this a few times, mostly for the letters where the wire overlaps itself, especially for the C and the two Y's. In my case, there was a total of 6 spots that I had to wire down. Go ahead and add a few drops of glue on there, just for safety. Then give it a few minutes to dry. You can see the sign is really starting to come together now. Once it's done drying, you can pick it up. Even with the thicker steel wire, it'll still be a little wobbly. So for a little extra support, I'm going to use these wooden sticks I found in the garden section of a dollar store.
This is an optional step, but I find it's a lot more durable this way. We won't need the whole thing, so just measure it alongside your sign and see what point you want to cut it off. I'll also use a gray primer spray paint to make the wood look a little more metallic. Regular paint works as well. If you're feeling fancy, you can use a little metallic shine paint too. Hold on to the unused end of your wooden stick so you can test the bondage of the glue between the metal and the wood. Now that we know the metal sticks to the wood, everything's all set to go. We're ready to start gluing on the L wire. Start by coating bit by bit little patches of the steel wire, then applying the L wire on it. The glue should bond almost instantly, but to play it safe, hold it down for about 10 seconds at a time. If you're concerned the layer of glue won't be enough, you can also glue along the sides. Because I wanted to avoid any bumps and make the letters as smooth as possible, I took it slow and laid down the L wire as precisely as possible, which in turn left me with over 2 hours of footage. For the sake of the video, I'll only play the key parts. For anybody who wants to make it alongside me, I'll make a separate video showing the whole process. At the middle of the arch in the D, leave a little space unglued and pass your L wire underneath it. You'll want the wire to underlap the connection between the D and the E, as later on you'll be masking the two connecting points. For the E, when coming around and overlapping the wire, I glued it down and then used twisty ties to hold it in place. Then added a little glue on the side to ensure it wouldn't break out of place. For the V, I passed the L wire underneath the steel wire and then covered that section with tape immediately because I knew it would be harder to get at if I did it later on when masking the rest. Because of the way it's bent at the L, I took a little longer applying pressure, and then took a twisty tie to make sure it didn't move. Anywhere you see a loop, you should take a little extra time to hold it down. I started wearing a mask halfway through because I was beginning to feel a little woozy. I'm not sure if it was because it was 1 AM and I was still drinking coffee, or if there were fumes coming from the glue. So, as a safety measure, do this in a well-ventilated area. Same thing we did for the D, we'll leave a little space when doing the loop in the Y, and pass the wire underneath it. Also, because of the way the C is done, I'll mask the underlayer now. That way I can glue over it, and I don't have to worry about how I'll cover it with tape later. Now we're almost done. Begin using tape to cover up all the parts of the sign that shouldn't be lit. As a reference, use the picture from the trailer to show you what parts should be visible. And finally, your project should come out looking a little something like this. Now this last part is optional, but I'm going to attach the wood backing onto the sign. You could choose not to do this, but because the sign isn't very solid, it'll wobble and probably slouch when you hang it up. Plus, If you take a look at Nico's van, it appears to have something similar as well. So go ahead and start gluing it down. And because of the tests I did earlier, we know the metal will stick to the wood, even with a layer of paint on it. Once it's finished drying, you're free to handle it. And there it is, the neon sign from Devil May Cry.
Alright guys, so that's it for today's episode. I'd say the build turned out pretty well, all things considered. This was my first time doing something like this. The back wooden part is again optional. I just enjoy it, that way I can put 2 nails in my walls and just pop it on there. It is battery operated, so there's no need to put it on a wall near an outlet or something like that, or have an extension cord coming down from there. All in all, I'd say it came out pretty good. If you guys liked it, let me know in the comments. As well, comment down below to let me know what you'd like me to do for the next episode. Other than that, thanks for watching guys, and I'll see you on the next one.